Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And we're having a relaxation day around the house. We've been kind of like napping and sleeping. Alex is doing a face mask right now. It's the day after his birthday, his 35th birthday. We celebrated last night and had a great time. If you want to hear all about it, go watch my vlog that I'm posting today. But today I want to do a little catch up because I didn't do a video on here yesterday, and then I want to do today's meditation as well as yesterday's, From the Language of Letting Go by Melody Beatty. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to read it and then kind of tell you guys what I think about it. Are you ready? I haven't read either one of these, but they look good. So the first one is from I'm on September 21st. Okay, wait a second. Let's go. Well, they looked good. You're going to have to wait till September to hear about them. Okay. Oh, wait. Yesterday's is good. Oh, my Lord. Okay. That one is really, really old. Okay, well, let's read today's and the good feelings, June 20. Oh, this is yesterday, June 21st. And then June 22nd is work histories, but it's literally like 3 pages long, and I'm not going to read that. Okay, the good feelings. Let yourself feel the good feelings too. Yes, sometimes good feelings can be as distracting as the painful, more difficult ones. Yes, good feelings can be anxiety-producing to those of us unaccustomed to them. But go ahead and feel the good feelings anyway. Feel and accept the joy, the love, the warmth, the excitement, the pleasure, the satisfaction, the elation, the tenderness, the comfort. Let yourself feel the victory, the delight. Let yourself feel cared for. Let yourself feel respected, important, and special. These are only feelings, but they feel good. They are full of positive, upbeat energy, and we deserve to feel that when it comes our way. We don't have to repress. We don't have to talk ourselves out of feeling good, not for a moment. If we feel it, it's ours for the moment. Own it. If it's good, enjoy it. Today, God, help me be open to the joy and good feelings available to me. Really interesting meditation. You know, when I first got sober, I really struggled with this idea of being successful at anything, you know, or just even staying sober for a week or 30 days or 6 months. And I told this story on here before, but, you know, we focus a lot on early sobriety, but I can remember like just getting out of treatment, and you know, I was not this gung-ho person. This is why I really believe today that when people say, well, you know, you have to get sober for yourself, you're not going to get sober unless you want it for yourself. I'm not a big believer in that. I think that, you know, you can plant the seed and you can get people there, and you know, if they do it over a period of time, that eventually maybe they'll realize they want to do it for themselves. But at the beginning, that might not have been the case, and because it wasn't the case for me. My fear of being homeless was a huge issue for me in wanting to get sober, because, you know, my dad had said to me, you either do ... I mean, this was not my first treatment. I had had several treatments. I had had several attempts at getting sober by the age of 22 and a half. And, my dad said, I'm done with you. So if you don't do these things, that's fine. That's your choice. But I'm done with you. I'm not going to help you. I wasn't working. I had no way to, you know, support myself financially if I was out there using, which I was such a mess that there was no way that I was going to work a full-time job and pay my bills at the rate that I was using, you know. So I got out of treatment, and I was extremely scared. I can remember the week before I got out of treatment, about halfway through, my counselor asked me, she said, how do you feel about getting out? And I said, well, I feel kind of ready, but I'm scared too. I'm really scared. And I said, I feel safe in here, but I'm like ready to go, but I feel scared about going too. And she goes, you're exactly at the place that you need to be to go. And she's like, you know, you have to have a certain amount of confidence and a certain amount of fear, evenly balanced out, you know, to go out into the world. So when I stepped out of treatment and, you know, I went into doing this, like, I can remember going to meetings early on, and a lot of it was just to see my friends that I met in treatment, in all honesty, you know. Another one of my friends got sober on New Year's Day. She called me a treatment drunk on New Year's Eve, and I mean, it's funny in retrospect, you know, 24 years later, but it wasn't funny at the time. And so her sobriety date was January 1st. So we were going to a lot of meetings together. It was very social to me. You know, it had kind of replaced my social life to some degree. I wasn't real serious about working steps. I wasn't really serious about my sponsor. I wasn't, you know, I went to meetings. I told people what I shared in meetings what I thought sounded good and what I wanted people to hear. And so that summer, well, whenever my six months would have been, let's see what this would have been. So it would have been, my sobriety birthday is December 17th of 94. So it would have been in December to January, February, March, April, May, and June. So it would have been June 17th, which is so weird because that's my cousin's wedding anniversary I saw him the other day. But anyway, so it would have been the day that she got married, which that is surreal because my mom and I, she had gotten sober June 2nd. My mom got sober 6 months after I did. Greatest gift I was ever given in sobriety was my mother's recovery. We spoke the language of recovery and, you know, our relationship going forward. And it's what gave me 13 years of life with her because we just wouldn't have had that had she not gotten sober. But we went to my cousin's wedding and we had such a blast that night. I remember we were both sober. And, but I remember going to a meeting. It wouldn't have been that night, so it must have been, you know, around that time. I remember the meeting. I don't remember the date or whatever, but I got my 6-month token. And I can remember walking out because it was at the treatment center that I had gone to. And I can remember walking out into the parking lot. And it was like a really nice night. And I remember looking at that 6-month token and thinking to myself, I have never in my life, other than drink and use drugs, done something consistently for 6 months. Like, never. Like, I have never been that committed to something in my life before, you know? And I can remember early on in sobriety where, you know, like I would sit there with like 9 days sober, you know, when I was in treatment at meetings, or, you know, 60 days sober, and people would say that they had, like if somebody said that they had 24 years like I do today, I would have been like, they're a liar, and I don't believe them, and there's no way they have not drank or something, they're just not telling anybody, you know? And so I couldn't even relate to people that had 5, 10, 20 years, like that was just unfathomable to me. But the people that had like 90 days, 6 months, 18 months, you know, a year, 9 months, like those are the people that like I would look at them and I would think, like those were the people I was looking up to, and I thought, I want that, you know? And I love so much when I get comments on my videos, especially my vlog, from people, and they'll say, you know, I just celebrated 3 years sober, or I just celebrated 6 months sober, and, you know, blah, 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 whatever. And the reason I love those is because your stories are the ones that are important to tell to the newcomer that's coming in the door, because the newcomer's not going to relate to somebody that's been sober 20, 30 years. They're just not, you know? I didn't. The newcomer's going to relate to somebody that has 60, 90 days, 6 months, you know, a year. And that was what I wanted. I looked at them and I was like, I want that, right? So I'm standing there in the parking lot going to my car, you know, that night, and I'm thinking to myself, I have never done anything before. Pee-pee's like walking around. I've never done anything before for 6 months in a row, ever, you know? And when I tell you that a fire started to burn, a passion started to burn within me for recovery, like I wanted this so bad. Like whatever that meant, I wanted this. And I can remember sitting in meetings, listening to people, like I would go to a lot of speaker meetings where people told their stories, and I would sit there and I would listen to their stories, but in my head I was thinking, and I was plotting, and I was planning. And I was saying to myself, if I'm gonna do this thing, if I'm gonna stay sober, like I'm not gonna just get sober and then 20 years from now be like, yeah, I'm sober, that's whatever, you know? Like I was gonna get sober and make something of my life. Like it was gonna be the medium that got me to have this amazing life, to have a healthy relationship, to have friends in my life, to have a career that was, you know, successful, or that I was proud of, to do something that I really wanted to do with my life, to write a book, you know, all these things. Like, I mean, I thought that way. I thought, like, if I'm going to get sober, if I'm going to do this thing, like, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to put my all into it. And I am extremely, if you don't know this already from watching my videos, I'm extremely passionate about recovery. I feel that it is the greatest gift I have ever received in my entire life, and it is a gift. A lot of people are never even introduced to recovery, and a lot of people never even have the opportunity or the chance to get sober because they don't know how, and they don't get introduced to 12-step programs or, you know, religious affiliations that help them do that, or the right books or the right people or anything, you know. That's why I think it's important for the rest of us out there to share our stories, to let other people know you can do it too. But I had this attitude before then, not when I got sober. I mean, like before I got sober, definitely, but before that 6-month point, that I really wasn't successful at anything. You know, I joke in my videos about I don't got my glasses on, I can't do math, but like I really am not good at math. Like I really have never been that great at math. Like you see, I count on my fingers. And so I always had this attitude that I was never good at like math or school or whatever. And you know, I went to undergraduate school and I did horribly, but I was using through the majority of it. And then when I got my master's degree, like, I did very well, and I didn't have to study hard, and I learned that I study in a different way. And what I started realizing was I'm not a bad student, and I'm not stupid, and actually I might be a little bit smart, you know? And I remember I took this finite math class, and I had to take it to pass, or to graduate. I had to have it. And I had taken it twice and like failed out of it. So this was like my third and final time. And my dad went to the teacher and he was like, I don't care if he gets A's on the test. I just want him to show up. And I had this really great, this is such an embarrassing story. I had this really great professor, right? And it was in this lecture hall of like 100 people. And I knew that he was gay because I had seen him out at bars before. And so we were supposed to call him by our first name and whatever, his first name. So, you know, I started taking this class, and I would just, like, I had to have a meeting with him before because my dad requested that, so I had to meet with him, and he was like, okay, I'm going to make sure that you're here every single day. Like, I want to see you here, you know? Your dad is, like, you know, paying for this class. I want to see you here every single day. If you show up every single day, well, he had told me, he goes, if you show up for every class, every extra credit, and every test, I will pass you in this class. I don't care what your grades are, I will pass you. Because what that will show me is that you really made an attempt to pass this class. So, I remember like the third session in, I was so lost, right? And I'm like trying to keep up with the notes and whatever. So I just kind of sat there and started listening. And that was how I learned that I learn by listening. I'm very audio. That's why I like to listen to a lot of audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks at 2 times speed, and I retain more in an audiobook at 2 times speed than I ever do. I can read the same page over and over and over again 10 times, and I don't retain it at all. I mean, my mind drifts, right? But if I'm listening to an audiobook, I'm right there. I learn words to songs very quickly. You know, I've always kind of been that, you know, and I think that we all learn in different ways. I think down the road, I think schools will start teaching that way. That I was just having this conversation with somebody that I think, you know, 10 to 20 years from now, the way that we look at education is going to be completely different. And I think that one of the things that will change is that how students learn, not just do they learn, but because I didn't learn, you know, with like the note cards, the note taking, the hypothesis statement, like that, I never learned that way. So I just started listening in class, and I went to the, you know, extra credit thing. And I really, if you had asked me, I would have been like, I am so completely lost, right? So the day of the test, I take the test, and, you know, I do all this, show my work and all that kind of stuff. And we get our tests back, and like my test, I think I got like an A- on it or something. I've told this story like 5 times. The grade probably changes every time, but it was between like an A and a B+. It was somewhere high up there like that. And I remember thinking to myself, this is what I thought of myself back then, okay? That I thought I was so hot to trot. I was like, he is trying to get into my pants by just giving me a good grade, you know? So anyway, I mean, like, in all honesty, that's what I thought. So afterwards, I went down there because I really wanted to know what I got. Like, I had showed up to the damn class. I had done the extra credit, you know, classes. I wanted to know what I really got. So I went down there, and there was like these people, you know, in front of the desk. And I was just standing there, and he was like, every day in class, he would look up and he'd go, Mr. Monn, nice to see you, every day. Like, he checked to make sure I was there. So I went down to the desk, and I'm standing there with these people in front of me, and he's like, can I help you, Peter? And I was like, yeah, I'll wait just a second. He was like, no, he was like, I'm answering some specific questions for them. Is there something you needed to know? And I go, well, I wanted to ask you about my grade. And he goes, what about it? And I go, well, I'll talk to you about it in a second. And he goes, no, what about your grade? I was really proud of you, you know? And I go, you and I both know I didn't get that grade. He was so pissed. He was like, he goes, what are you saying? And I was like, he goes, if you do not believe me, go check your answers on this. And he was pissed, right? And so I went over and I like checked my test with the you know, professor's test that was sitting right there. And yeah, I had gotten what I deserved on the test. Like, I had, you know, I wasn't that stupid. And I, of course, horribly apologized. I was so embarrassed, right? And he was like, it's no problem. Like, the next time I came in there, he was like, I totally understand. I was like, listen, I never thought I could do well on a test. He goes like, I'm really proud of you. You've shown up. You've shown that you can do it. That this is, you know, you can be successful. That instance I have learned so much from in my life, you know, that I underjudged myself. Like, I misjudged myself, you know, that I thought that was the only way I was going to get a good grade on a test, which is such crap, you know. And I didn't end up getting an A+ in that class. I just didn't. I think I got a B or a B+ or a B- or something, but I passed the class with a good grade, you know, because I did the work, because I was successful. But for a long time, I was so used to failure that I really wasn't okay with success in my life or good things happening. It was almost like I would sabotage good things happening, you know? That whether they were friendships or relationships or, you know, school, work situations, that I would almost kind of like sabotage them. And I can remember like every like work promotion that I ever got, I would go into my supervisor and I'd be like, I can't do this. And she'd say, yes, you can. And I'd say, no, like I really can't. I'm terrified. I can't do it. She's like, you're perfectly fine. You can do this, you know? And specifically, I remember when I had to drive around the state of Indiana and I was kind of the liaison between the treatment facility that I worked at and the Department of Corrections, like all the judges, the probation officers. To this day, like I still am like friends with a lot of them. And I was like, and I was young too, you know, I was like 26, 27, and I was like, I'm really nervous, like I don't know that I can go into, you know, talking to these judges and, you know, courtrooms, whatever. She's like, I totally trust you. And, you know, I learned so much from that experience. And, you know, to this day, like I have judges and I have people that call me and just be like, hey, like, you know, I have a situation, like I don't know what to do, like what would you suggest as a person in recovery? And, you know, that means a lot to me, you know, today, that like I never believed in myself. And I think that's one of the hardest things in life, is not believing yourself. Today, tell me I can't do something and I'll show you that I can. You know, that's how it is for me today. And you know, because for a long time, I didn't believe in myself. If you told me I couldn't do anything, I knew I couldn't do it. Now I was going to prove you that I couldn't do it. And in fact, I was going to prove you that I was such a failure, right? And I think another turning point for me was when I wrote my book, you know? And I'm very, very proud of my book. It's not the greatest book in the entire world. It's not the worst book in the entire world. But it's, for me, I'm proud of it being my first book. And I remember when I read it and the night that I finished it, like I used to get really emotional telling this story, but I remember the night that I finished it, I would write it late at night while Alex was asleep. And Pee-Pee would, you know, lay down here in the little ottoman with me, and then I would take him out like every hour. And I remember I walked outside. I'll probably get emotional saying this, but I remember walking outside, and it was, you know, a beautiful night in April. And I was letting Pee-Pee go to, you know, go potty outside. And it was clear skies, and I remember I looked up and I said, Mom, I wrote a book, you know? And I just was like I had done that. Like, and I knew, like, in that moment that if I could do that, I wrote a book in 3.5 weeks. A book, okay? And I was like, if I can do that, I can do whatever I set my mind to. The thing that's hard for me today, I'm gonna be 47 next Saturday, is that I wish I had gotten it earlier. You know, when younger people ask me, like, what's the best piece of advice that you would give to somebody my age, you know, if they're in college or whatever, I always say to them, whatever you want to do, you can do. Like, I wish I had known that at 22 when I got sober. I wish I had known that I could write a book, or that I could be an actor, or that I could do this, or I could do that. You know, like anything that I wanted, I wish that I had realized that if I work hard enough for, I can have that. But I had to accept the good. I had to be willing to accept the positive that came with it. And I just, it's taken me 20 years to get to the point where I'm okay with accepting good things today, you know? So, it's still hard, you know? I think it's still hard, you know, like my mother taught me this one thing about compliments. A simple thank you is all that is necessary. So anyway, I hope that meditation helped you guys, and that went longer than I thought it was gonna go in such a short meditation. I hope you guys are having a fantastic, amazing weekend, unless you have other plans, but don't. Just enjoy your weekend. I say that at the end of every one of my vlogs. And I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.